Welcome to Suthichai Live English Podcast. If everything goes according to plan, tomorrow Thailand's House of Representatives will vote on picking a new Prime Minister, Thailand's 32nd. And the leading candidate is Anutin Charnvirakul. Anutin's journey in politics has been quite a dramatic one. The story is about his political trajectory from being disqualified from politics to his re-emergence as a key political player and leader of Suthichai Thai Party. He is known for his ability to negotiate and form alliances, particularly the recent support from Prachachon Party under key 5 tough conditions, which has significantly boosted his chances. Of course, challenges await, and his success will depend on effective governance and balancing national stability with the people's economic well-being rather than solely on political deal-making. He may be good at politicking, but if he cannot deliver on economic policies, then he'll be doomed. He has 4 months under the tough conditions posed by Prachachon Party. And the most important is he has to dissolve Parliament in 4 months and lay down the groundwork for the election of a new constitution drafting committee to draw up a new charter for the whole country. But if we can go back and look at his emergence as a politician, it would be quite dramatic. Let's get Pong to sit down and give us his background and Anutin's potential ability as the country's new Prime Minister. Hi, Pong. Let's get down to Anutin's story.
Welcome to Suthichai Live English Podcast. You know, they say a week is a long time in politics. So what about nearly 2 decades? That's long enough for someone who is completely disqualified from public life to climb all the way back to the very, very top. Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible political comebacks in recent history.
So, here's how we're going to break down the absolutely incredible journey of Anutin Charnvirakul. We'll start with his ban from politics, that forced exit. Then we'll look at his strategic comeback and how he mastered the political game. And finally, we'll talk about the real test that begins right now, with him poised to become Prime Minister. All right, let's get right into it. To really get the scale of this comeback, you have to see where Anutin was and where he is now. The contrast is, well, it's truly stunning. I mean, just think about this reversal for a second. Back in 2006, a court order dissolves his party, and just like that, Anutin is banned from politics, completely cast out. Now, fast forward to today, and he's not just back in the game, he's the leading candidate for Prime Minister. It's nothing short of a political resurrection, plain and simple.
So, the big question is, how did he even get disqualified in the first place? To understand that, we've got to rewind the clock a bit, back to the beginning of a career that was on a very, very fast track right before it hit a brick wall.
Anutin's rise in politics was lightning fast. He gets into the scene in '96, and by the early 2000s, he's already a deputy minister in 2 really key areas. But then, bam, 2006 happens. It was a year of massive political upheaval, and the Constitutional Court dissolved his party, Thai Rak Thai. And just like that, his career came to a screeching halt.
And he wasn't alone in this. Not at all. A total of 111 party executives were handed a 5-year ban from holding any kind of political office. This whole event became famously known in Thailand as the House No. 111 ban. It was a huge move that totally reshaped the political landscape and forced a whole generation of politicians, including Anutin, into a mandatory timeout.
But here's the thing. For Anutin,
This ban wasn't the end. You could even argue it was the real beginning of his transformation. This forced exit from politics, it actually became a period of strategic preparation for an even more powerful return.
So what do you do with 5 years in the political wilderness? Well, Anutin didn't just wait around. He went back to his family's massive construction company, Suthichai, and he expanded his other businesses. He wasn't just making money, he was building serious capital, growing his networks, and creating a new image for himself, a powerful business leader, not just another politician. So when his ban finally ended in 2012, he returned to politics as the formidable new leader of the Suthichai party.
Now, you absolutely cannot tell the story of Anutin's rise without mentioning this man, Nguyen Chichop. He doesn't hold any official title, but he's widely seen as the Kru Yai, which translates to the big boss, the master strategist behind the Suthichai party. It's this combination of Nguyen's political genius and Anutin's capital that turned their party from a minor player into an absolute political heavyweight.
And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Armed with all that capital, those networks, and a brilliant strategist by his side, Anutin didn't just re-enter politics, he positioned himself and his party right at the center of power, as the indispensable kingmaker. And with that new power, he secured some of the most influential jobs in the entire government. We're talking Deputy Prime Minister, giving him broad oversight, Minister of Public Health, putting him on the front lines, and Minister of the Interior, which controls a vast and powerful bureaucracy. These roles put him right at the heart of the country's biggest decisions.
And as Minister of Public Health, he became a household name. He was the face of the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a role that brought both intense criticism and incredible visibility. At the same time, he pushed through his party's signature and pretty controversial policy, the legalization of medical cannabis. These two issues really defined his public persona. But even with all this power, the top job still wasn't guaranteed. His path to becoming prime minister really came down to one single decisive moment. On September 3rd, a rival political party, the People's Party, made a stunning announcement. They were going to back Anutin. It was the absolute breakthrough he needed.
And here's why that moment was so critical. Let's just look at the parliamentary math. On its own, Anutin's coalition had about 180 seats. Good, but not enough to form a government. Then, the People's Party brings another 140 seats to the table. And suddenly, the math works. That support was the final, essential piece of the puzzle that pushed him over the majority threshold.
Of course, support like that doesn't come for free, right? It came with a very strict 5-point agreement. The People's Party agreed to vote for him, but, and this is a big but, the new government would have to dissolve parliament in just 4 months and then hold a referendum to amend the constitution. It was a high-stakes political bargain, and Anutin took the deal.
So, the crucial point is this. He has won the game of politics. He's secured the numbers, he's made the deals, and he's poised to take the top job. But winning the position is really only half the battle. Now, the monumental task of actually governing the country begins.
And this is the fundamental shift he has to make. For years, his reputation has been that of a master negotiator, a political dealmaker who knows how to balance interests and build coalitions. But the job of prime minister, that's entirely different. It requires being a national leader, someone responsible for everything from the economy to national security to public trust. And the challenges waiting for him are immense. I mean, there are serious security pressures, both at home and in the region. There's a fragile economy, a cost of living crisis, and just staggering levels of household debt. And on top of all that, he has to somehow hold together the very fragile, time-sensitive coalition that put him in power in the first place.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the final question, doesn't it? Anutin's journey to the top is an absolute masterclass in political survival and strategy. But will he be remembered for the clever deal that got him the job, or for what he actually does with that power? His real test has only just begun. Thank you for following Suthichai Live English Podcast.
Thank you, Ping. Thank you. And let's get Ping and Pong to sit down together and go deep into the detail of the life of Anutin, who will most likely be voted as the new Prime Minister of Thailand tomorrow. Hi, Ping and Pong.
Welcome to Suthichai Live English Podcast. I am Ping.
And I am Pong.
All right, let's unpack a truly fascinating story today. It's incredibly complex, this political journey of Anutin Charnvirakul.
It really is. The sources we have paint a picture that's almost, well, cinematic. So many twists and turns.
Yeah, exactly. We're diving deep into how a politician goes from being, completely disqualified from office to now being a top contender, maybe the contender.
Arguably the most crucial one, yeah. For Thailand's 32nd prime minister. And that big parliamentary vote is looming, September 5th, 2025.
So our mission today is really to pull out the key insights from the material we've got, explore how Anutin navigated these turbulent political waters.
And pinpoint those aha moments, right? The things that really stand out in his story. And crucially, what his potential rise might actually mean for Thailand.
Okay, let's jump in. The source kicks off with this really powerful contrast. Disqualified to nominated. That's not a normal path.
No, definitely not.
So what was this initial setback? This Bon Lake T 111, the House number 111 ban. What actually happened there?
Right, context is key here. The article points to 2006, or 2549 in the Thai year. A huge event, the Thai Rak-Thai Party.
Yeah.
Dissolved by the courts.
A major party at the time.
Huge. And Anutin was on the executive committee, one of 111 members who got hit with a mandatory 5-year political ban.
Wow. 5 years out.
Yeah, the source calls it a forced retreat from Parliament. Most people, that would be it. Career over.
But here's where it gets really interesting, like you said, almost cinematic, because the common sense says game over, right?
Right.
But the source suggests, maybe it wasn't, that this forced break actually became a strategic advantage for him. How does that work?
Well, this is really fascinating insight from the source. It frames that 5-year hiatus until 2012 not as downtime, but as a time to accumulate capital and networks.
Okay, so he wasn't just sitting around.
Not at all. He doubled down on his family business, Sino-Thai engineering and construction, big infrastructure player, plus his private aviation stuff.
Building power outside politics.
Exactly. And building a new image, too. Sort of distinct from the typical politician. The article argues it was really a retreat to gather strength. He was forging connections, building resources, and basically waiting for the right moment.
Turning a negative into a strategic pause. Clever.
Very much so. It was about growth and reinvention during that time.
So, 2012, 25-55 Thai year, he's back, takes the lead at the Bumjaitai party. But the source mentions another figure, someone really crucial behind the scenes, this Kru Yai, the big boss.
Ah, yes, the Kru Yai. The source points directly to Nguyen Chitchup.
And Kru Yai means, like, master or big teacher.
Something like that, yeah. It underlines his influence, the respect he commanded. And the key thing is he didn't hold an official political job himself.
No title.
No formal position. But the source says he was the pillar behind the moves, providing that critical advice, strategy, probably a lot of networking too, helping the party grow.
So it was this combination then, Anutin's leadership, maybe refined during that break, plus Nguyen's strategic brain.
That's the picture the source paints. That blend allowed Bumjaitai to really evolve. They went from being, a medium-sized party
to becoming a central variable in Thai politics. A kingmaker, essentially.
Precisely. They became indispensable. No coalition could ignore them. They knew how to leverage their seats for maximum influence.
Making themselves power brokers. It shows that partnership was absolutely key.
Absolutely. Punching above their weight, strategically positioning themselves. It wasn't just about numbers, but about being essential.
Okay, fast forward to after the 2019 election. Anutin gets this really demanding dual role, deputy PM and, maybe more importantly, Minister of Public Health.
Right, and the source calls this a major proving ground.
I bet. Especially with what came next. What were the big challenges, the huge decisions he faced, particularly, during COVID-19?
Oh, it was an immense pressure cooker. The source describes it as a real baptism by fire. Suddenly he's front and center. National spotlight.
The face of the pandemic response. Yeah. Exactly. Daily press briefings. Right. And he's got the direct responsibility for these huge calls. Vaccines, hospital beds, resources, the whole public health system strategy.
Must have been incredible pressure.
And the source acknowledges he faced heavy criticism. Lots of it. About vaccine timing, lockdowns, the economic fallout.
Yeah, I remember that.
But, despite all that scrutiny, the article is clear. Every decision rested squarely on his shoulders. It was a massive test of leadership, making tough calls under just enormous public and political heat.
Beyond the pandemic, which was all-consuming, the source points to another policy reflecting his, let's say, distinctive style. The decriminalization of cannabis.
What? Yes.
Initially for medical use, but still a really bold, maybe controversial move for Thailand at the time. What did the source say about that?
Well, what's fascinating is how the source frames it. It says, look, despite being full of debate, generating a lot of talk, maybe even backlash.
Which it definitely did, right. It undeniably left a clear mark in the history of Thai public health. It showed he was willing to walk on issues others still hesitated on.
So political courage? Or maybe a calculated risk?
Could be both. It was certainly a move that pushed boundaries, maybe aimed at unlocking economic potential too, but it was also a political statement, right? Carving out a unique space for him and his party, showcasing him as a leader who wasn't afraid to shake things up.
Yeah, definitely solidified that image. A bold, sometimes contentious decision maker. Now, Thai politics is always shifting. After the 2023 election, another change. Anutin takes on another powerful role. Minister of Interior, plus Deputy PM again, but this time in the Suthichai government.
Right, another heavyweight position.
But the source says this was temporary. Bumjathai eventually moved to the opposition. So how did this constant switching government to opposition and back help him?
Well, this pivot is really key to understanding his resilience. The source highlights a lesson here. Political power isn't measured by seats alone.
It's about staying in the game.
Exactly. It's about the ability to rise again, even when pushed off the field. That stint as Interior Minister gave him more experience, different networks. And then moving to opposition, it wasn't necessarily defeat.
Just another strategic move.
Another chance to adapt, regroup, re-strategize. It shows incredible flexibility, knowing when to join, when to oppose. This constant flux has really honed his skills in navigating Thailand's shifting alliances. He's become very agile, very pragmatic.
Okay, bringing us right up to the present, or near present, September 3rd, 2025. A huge development. The FAC Pratishan, the People's Party, announces they'll back Anutin for PM.
Game changer moment.
Absolutely. But they lay out conditions, right? These 5 points, the terms of reference, or 2OR, what were they, and why did Anutin agree so quickly? They sounded pretty demanding.
They were significant demands, yes. The source mentions dissolving parliament within 4 months that signals new elections soon.
Wow, okay.
And holding a referendum to amend the Constitution. That's huge, politically charged. Plus, other points probably related to policy.
So big asks, why jump at it?
Because, as the source suggests, Anutin understood deeply that the path to the top must begin with support. He needed those 140 plus votes from FAC Pratishan. They were essential.
So it was a strategic calculation. The prize was worth the concessions.
Seems so. Accept the terms, get the support, secure the premiership. He likely figured he could navigate the demands once in power, or maybe they aligned with where things were heading anyway. It was bold, showing he'd make the necessary deals for power.
And what does this mean for the actual vote? The source is pretty clear, isn't it?
Crystal clear. With FAC Pratishan's 140 plus votes locked in, added to Bumjathai's own and their allies, Anutin became, as the source puts it, the only name that could truly cross the halfway mark of Parliament.
The undeniable frontrunner.
Absolutely. It shifted the whole equation.
And this brings us back to that label the source uses, the bargaining politician.
It fits perfectly. And the article gives us history to back it up. Remember, Kruyai knew in flipping alliances back in 2008, 2551.
Yeah.
Game-changing then, too. Then in 2019, 2562, Bumjathai smartly partnered with Paling Prakaras, got major ministries. Again, strategic bargaining.
And now the 2025-2568 TOR deal with FAC Pratishan.
It's the latest, maybe biggest example. It all shows this art of maintaining balance. They don't stick to rigid blocks or ideologies. They position themselves.
Make their small voice indispensable.
Exactly. Making themselves the pivotal player. The swing votes needed to form a government. Pragmatism and flexibility. Those are the hallmarks.
So it's September 5th, the vote. It's almost here, a huge moment. But the source really hammers this point, becoming PM. That's only half of the journey.
Yeah, that's a crucial warning.
What are the big challenges waiting after the vote? For whoever wins, but potentially for Anutin.
Well, the source says society isn't just watching the political deal-making. The real test is the mission of national administration that comes next.
Governing itself.
Right. And the challenges are immense. There's this delicate balancing act required. On one hand, national security, dealing with internal issues, regional stuff, global pressures.
And on the other,
the economy of the people. Tackling really deep-seated problems. Rebuilding public trust, boosting income, handling the cost of living. Massive household debt. These are huge, interconnected issues.
Not just political skill needed then.
No, it needs real economic and social understanding, too.
And the source wraps this up powerfully, saying this isn't just a stage for political deals.
The deals are part of it.
But a stage to measure the quality of leadership, That really puts the focus on what comes after the vote.
It does. And the source suggests, if Anutin's successful, if he navigates the Tory demands and tackles these massive societal challenges.
And history might see him differently.
Potentially. Not just as the deal maker who got the top job, but maybe as a leader who transitioned from a bargaining politician to someone who actually created new hope for Thai society.
From pragmatist to potentially transformative leader.
That's the high bar the source sets. It's about the long-term legacy, way beyond the current politics. Can he unite and steer the country effectively? That's the real question.
Anutin Charnvirakul's journey, digging into it like this, it really is an amazing case study. Resilience, strategy, adaptation in this constantly moving Thai political scene.
Absolutely. From being banned completely out to be right at the center, maybe about to take the top job. It says a lot about his ability to adapt and, keep rising.
It certainly does.
And this whole story, it raises a big question for you, the listener, doesn't it? When you look at this complex mix, the political deals, the personal influence, but also these huge national challenges like the economy and security, what leadership qualities do you think are most vital for Thailand right now? Does Anu's path, the pragmatism, the deal-making, the bold moves, offer a good blueprint for governing effectively? Or is it more just a lesson in political survival, maybe even opportunism? Something to think about as that vote gets closer.
Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for following Suthichai Live English Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you, Ping and Pong. And this is what will happen in the House of Representatives in Thailand tomorrow, a new Prime Minister. Whether Anutin will finally get it will depend a lot on how he convinces the Prachachun or the People's Party, which holds 140-something votes, that he can really deliver on the promises. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you for following Suthichai Live English Podcast. Bye-bye.